BooktTube! I am coming to you today with a fairly basic BooktTube tag, one of my first, my TBR, to be read list for the month of June. And since it's the 2nd of June, I've actually already started some of these books, so I will talk about the two that I have begun at the end of my list, just to finish those off, because I might have a few more notes added to those since I've already started them. One of them I'm almost halfway through, and I am really enjoying, and I'm so glad I'm enjoying, and I'm surprised that I'm enjoying it this much, so I'll get to that later. The first book on my list is a classic that I have been meaning to read for years, and I've never gotten around to it until now when I found it in the freebie pile at my local library. It is I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou, and this one, I know it's one of those books that is required reading for most high schools. I just never was in a class that required it, but I read many of her short stories throughout high school and college, and her writing style's always stuck with me. I don't know what it is about it. Maybe it's because she's a poet. Just the richness of the language, it just sucks you right in, and I am so excited to finally read this and to have found it for free, because I am cheap. Let's just get that out right now. If I can find a book for cents on the dollar or for nothing, then especially if it's a good one, oh, sign me up. I'm ready to go. So this book I'm really excited to read. I've been trying to hit at least one classic a month that I have been putting off and just biting the bullet and reading it. But this is definitely not biting the bullet. This is going to be a pleasure. So, Maya Angelou, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, I'll let y'all know. Though I'm sure most of you have already read it. You're ahead of me on that game. The next book is a complete, self-indulgent, so excited to pick this one up. The Queen of Last Hopes by Susan Higginbotham. I'm not quite sure how she pronounces her last name, but it is a fictional account of Queen Margaret of Anjou, who was the last official Lancastrian queen from the War of the Roses in England I believe it was mostly in the 1400s that the conflict occurred. She was the French queen of Henry VI, and is actually known to history as a she-wolf, and a French wolf for wolf queen. I'm not quite sure how it's said specifically. I can't remember off the top of my head, but that's because she pretty much had to hold the reins during her husband's rule, because he signed out mentally. He had a breakdown, and she was trying to keep everything together for the sake of her son, their child, who was the heir to the throne, and of course the men in control saw her as a threat, so it became this huge battle that started the War of the Roses between the House of Lancaster and the House of York. So she was pretty much the catalyst. I mean, there was a lot of other issues really leading up to the War of the Roses, but she was the spark that started the whole thing. The next book that I am going to be reading is actually the next in a series that I started last month. I've been on a science fiction kick lately, and classic science fiction, and I had read 2001: A Space Odyssey, which is the novel that accompanied the film from 1969, I want to say, the Stanley Kubrick film. I love the movie. I've never read the book, and I got it at Christmas, so I read that, and I really enjoyed it. It was very interesting. 2010, Odyssey 2 is the next book in the series. I think there are 4 of them. I'm pretty sure. I think the next one is 2061, and then the last one is 3001. I can't remember, but this follows the characters from the first book. And I'm really excited to see what happens to them, because one of them transcended reality into the next version of the human development. I'm not quite sure. It's a little trippy. It's trippy in the movie if you've seen it, but the book explains a lot, and this explains what happens after the events of the movie 2001: A Space Odyssey. So I'm really interested to see that, to read this. I mean, not see it, read it, read it. So that's the next one, and following the science fiction train that I've been talking about, talk about the book that I started yesterday. And I am loving this book. I'm not done with it yet, but I probably won't be for a while because it's a tome. It's 800 pages, but I'm already halfway through it. It's so good. Dune by Frank Herbert. I've been meaning to read this. This is kind of like the I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. I've been meaning to read this for years, especially when they compare it to the Lord of the Rings, being the Lord of the Rings equivalent for science fiction. But every time I've thought about reading it, whenever I've read reviews, I've heard people, they're like, oh, it drags. Oh, it's so long. There's so many details. Are these people reading a different book? Because I can't put this thing down. This is an incredible novel. I mean, clearly I can't put it down. I started this yesterday. I'm almost halfway through it. And I am just sucked in. I read way past my bedtime last night. Way past my bedtime. And then I read part of the time while my daughter was in school today. I read during dinner, and I mean, I can't put this thing down. I am thoroughly enjoying it, and I even went online last night and bought the next 2 books in the series. So, if you've been considering reading Dune, like I've been, and just been putting it off because it's daunting because of the size, don't. Just pick the darn thing up. You will love it if this is your cup of tea. If you enjoy science fiction, if you like things like Lord of the Rings with a really rich world building, I mean, the detail in this is incredible, pick up Dune. Okay, and the last book that I started also with my TBR, it's another historical fiction for the month, and it's Sharpe's Tiger by Bernard Cornwell, and he is the author of the Last Kingdom books. It's a new miniseries. You can find it on Netflix. It's about Vikings and early in the Saxon communities and their conflicts. I've never read the books. I've only seen a few episodes of the series. I might give it another try just because I love the TV show Vikings, and I really wasn't that jazzed about The Last Kingdom in comparison. Maybe I just need to go in there not expecting History Channel Vikings. Like, go in there expecting something completely different. But Sharpe's Tiger is totally different. Whole other beast. Tiger, beast. Okay, never mind. Sharpe is a private in the British Army, and the series starts 1799 in India, and it's a huge collection. Like, he's got, like, how many books are actually in this series? I don't even know. It's a pretty solid series. I want to say it's at least 7 or 8, maybe more. I don't know. This is just the first one, and it's just about him, Sharpe, as he ascends the ranks. And the thing I noticed about Bernard Cornwell and what everybody has said in all the reviews, I mean, I haven't gotten that far in it, but there was a battle scene in the first chapter. And everyone says about Cornwell is that his battle scenes, his war scenes, are so well done, and they're so rich, and it's not overwhelming, but it's not underwhelming. That he does a good job of describing warfare, and I've definitely found that, especially because he manages to keep historical detail without the info dump that I was talking about in my last nonfiction video, where or not nonfiction, I don't know. Anyway, the last book review I did of Eye of the Needle, he does an info dump. He keeps the details sparse, but just enough to give the text some richness to it. So I've got high hopes. I'm enjoying it so far. We'll see about the female characters in this. So far, I'm a little bit not so jazzed, so we'll see. But anyway, that is my TBR for the month of June. These 5 books. And if you've read any of them and you have any comments, or you hated Dune and you want to say, girl, what are you talking about? This is not a good book. Why are you making a big deal about this and trying to sell it? Quit spreading the gospel. It's not going to happen. So just leave me a comment. All right. Bye.